Hey everybody, my name is Jack. I work with the Town of Clarkstown Parks and Recreation Department. Today we're going to get into some very basic lacrosse information. One of the first things, this is a lacrosse stick. There's a simple parts of a lacrosse stick that everybody needs to know. The first and foremost is the head of the stick. Okay? When you're catching a ball, this is where the ball goes. You go down, the long metal part is the shaft, the part at the end is the butt end, and an important part when you're catching and throwing is the neck. To catch and throw a lacrosse ball, sometimes people get a lot of things confused, and what we want to teach isn't what might make sense to someone who's not experienced with lacrosse. For lacrosse, a basic thing is point, push, and pull. So when you're throwing a lacrosse ball, you want to point your foot, push with your top hand, pull with your bottom hand, and follow through. Okay? You know, lacrosse has been around for years. It's the oldest sport in North America. Some say it's the oldest sport in the world. Right now, it's the fastest growing sport in all of the world. The last World Championships, there was, I believe, 42 nations competing in lacrosse, which is unbelievable. The sport started with native North Americans, and it was almost a test of manhood or a way to settle disputes between rivaling tribes or communities. These games or contests would last for days and days. They were played on massive acres of land and were a lot more vicious than what we see in lacrosse today. A lot of changes didn't come until the European settlers came to North America, what we know now as the United States, Canada. And you know, the French actually termed the phrase lacrosse because they said it looked like a cross. But the actual word or term used years ago, the translation would be more of like a stick ball kind of thing. But through the years, obviously, rules have been adapted, and we see now what we see with the NCAA, the MLL, which is Major League Lacrosse. Major League Lacrosse is played on a turf field or a grass field, similar to a soccer or football field. And then you have now the PLL, Professional Lacrosse League, and then you have the NLL, which is very, very similar to hockey. It's played in an arena, similar to hockey, with the boards and stuff. The goalie's padded up just like a hockey goalie would be, and it's pretty intense. So through the years, dodging and stick skills have become more important than in the past, where toughness and was really, I mean, you still have to be tough to play lacrosse, but speed, agility, intelligence, those are some of the main categories that you really want to concentrate on. Okay, so we went through quickly, I'm talking really fast, I apologize. We went through really quickly on the basic parts of a lacrosse stick. One of the things I'm just going to show you briefly over here. So this stick would be this a midfielder or an attackman. An attackman would be the forward part of the field, and this stick is a defenseman's stick. Through the years I was a defenseman, proud of it, and this one's kind of gotten beaten up. The head is kind of off kilter a little bit, but the more you use your equipment, the more kind of wear and tear you get. So make sure you take good care of your stuff. And one of the points that I touched on just a second ago, so for field lacrosse, I'll go through the positions with you. So the back of the field, you have your goalie. The goalie is in a 6x6 goal with it, and it's got a net that's almost angled. So when you see the goal come, or we'll see with the goal shot, a lot of times the net will pop back up. From the goalie up, usually you have 3 defensemen. Center, wing, moving forward, 3 midfielders. A lot of times they'll call the center mid a face-off man, and then your wing and wing, and then the front of the field, you have 3 attackmen. So 10 players per team, including your goalie, and you go from there. Some of the other equipment other than the sticks, we have our helmets. Helmets are really important. A lacrosse ball is really hard. So a good helmet will really protect you pretty well. Obviously this one's seen a little wear and tear over the years. But like I said, a good helmet is really important. They come in different sizes. Obviously they have youth sizes all the way to adults. Usually small, medium, large. But find one that fits you well. You don't want your helmet to be loose. Because having a loose helmet, you almost might as well not have the helmet on. It's not going to protect you as well as a form-fitted helmet. And some other pieces of equipment, obviously shoulder pads. They're not going to be as big and bulky as a football player, but it's important to protect your shoulders, and a lot of them drop down and protect your sternum area. You don't want to get hit with a lacrosse ball in the chest. It could cause a lot of damage. You have your lacrosse gloves. A lot of people will use similar gloves for lacrosse as they do for hockey. There's the glove itself that protects your hand, and a lot of times there's a floating cuff that protects your wrist. And moving up from there, you have elbow pads. Now if you're a defenseman like me and you see an attackman that doesn't wear elbow pads, that's where you like to hit him to get the ball away from him. A lot of defensemen will wear smaller elbow pads like this. Depending on your position, attackmen will wear bigger ones that will go up to the bicep all the way down to their forearm. A lot of this stuff is required for youth lacrosse, and as it should be. Also, one of the big things is a good mouth guard. Any youth coach should be able to show you how to use a mouth guard. All you have to do is boil some water, dip it in, soften it up a little bit, put it in, and it's molded to your mouth. That'll prevent issues. Depending on how secure your helmet is, if you get hit, you can end up grinding your teeth, biting your tongue, different things. So a mouth guard is very important. Okay, so let's get into just a couple different things. I'm actually going to ask Steve to come in and help me out with 1 or 2 things.
How you doing, everybody?
Okay, so Steve's going to use the attack or midi stick. I'm going to use the defensive stick. So a lot of times when you're catching and throwing a ball, so you want to be, if you stand flat-footed, it's not going to work. So you want to be in an athletic stance. So throwing in like this, you're not going to get to where you want to go. So anytime you go in, so you're going to find yourself, step to the point, and I'm going to use the camera as our point. We don't have a ball, so I'm not going to break the camera. So we're going to step to the point, top hand's going to push, bottom hand's going to pull, and you're going to follow through. Okay, following through is really important. If you kind of shortcut your throw, it's going to go off. So if you're doing one of those, the ball is going to go either straight up in the air or just drop right in front of you. So you want to make sure you follow through. All sticks have throwing strings in them, or I should say, all sticks should have throwing strings in them. My defensive stick only has 1. Some midi sticks or attack sticks have 2 or 3, depending on your preference. And again, finding what works for you is important as you're going through youth lacrosse to when you get to high school, or if you're lucky enough to play in college, or even further than that. You're going to want to find what works best for you. And the good part about finding that stuff is there's a lot of people that will give advice about lacrosse. If anybody asks me, any kid or parents, their kid wants to get into lacrosse, the first thing I'm going to tell them is maybe borrow some equipment, find out what's comfortable. Lacrosse equipment's not cheap, so you're going to want to find what works best for you, and then go from there. I was lucky enough to have an older cousin that played lacrosse, so a lot of my first stuff was borrowed, and I found out from there what I liked. But during the times we're going through now, lacrosse is actually a really good way to create your social distancing. You find a partner, you can get your 6 feet away, create your distance, and just have a catch and throw. We're kind of a little confined here, so I'm not going to use a ball. I don't want to break a window or a wall. But just have a catch and throw. You're not touching the ball, so there's no contamination. You could also do things, kick a soccer ball around. But if you have the option of getting out and doing something, go for it. But for the sake of this, we're just going to mock throw. All right, so I'm stepping in, push, pull, and follow through. Okay, same thing. And then when you're receiving the ball, don't slap at the ball. Let the ball come in. You have a pocket in your stick. Let the ball come into the pocket. So you're almost going to receive the ball. So when the ball's coming in, you're going to receive the ball and pull it into your body. When you're throwing a ball to somebody, you kind of want to aim, you almost want to create a box from their chest and shoulders up to the top of their head. So you kind of want to get that stick up in there, and when you're passing the ball, you want to hit the target in that range. Okay? So when Steve and I are catching and throwing, he gets the ball, passes it back, and then you receive it. All right? Couple of simple things too, is you're doing ground balls. This we can do with an actual ball. Here it is. Okay. So when you're doing ground balls, it's going to be a little difficult in here because we're not on grass or turf. And then it's rolling on its own. So when you're going for a ground ball, don't dig at the ball as if you're shoveling something. You want to get down, get your body down, and get the ball level as you're going down. Exactly. So you want to go in, hopefully this works. It did work, thank God. I didn't embarrass myself. And then cradle the ball. A lot of times you'll see people do a back rake. And why this is not good is you're doing a back rake, and a lot of times that's not good because you're looking down instead of looking up and being aware of your surroundings. Also, a back rake takes 2 motions, where scooping through is just 1. So it's a little less time. So then if you're just out and about and you got your friend with you, you're creating your social distance, you can just do ground balls, back and forth, and you're scooping and going. A lot of things you want to do, now when you have the ball in your stick, you want to be able to cradle. So this motion is called a cradle. The cradle starts with your fingertips, okay? So you're going to want to get into what you call a C. So you have your hand kind of shaped like a C or a cup, and you're going to start with your fingers, all right? So just fingers. And then your fingers goes into your wrist. Then your wrist goes into your elbow. So then your top wrist is really what does the cradling. Now, the bottom hand is more or less a guide, all right? Because a lot of times you'll see guys doing fancy cradles like this. The bottom hand is your guide, and it helps while you're running. So your cradle creates the pace that you can run at. So when you create your stride, your cradle kind of goes with it, and the bottom hand keeps it stable. All right, so we touched on a few different things, and I apologize for kind of running through it so quickly. But what I am going to offer is if anybody has any questions, whether it's today or in the future about lacrosse, and I would love to make myself available to answer any questions for you. So what I've done is wrote out my name, my work address, jo.walsh, W-A-L-S-H, @clarkstown.org. Again, for any lacrosse questions, Jack Walsh, jo.walsh, @clarkstown.org, and your lacrosse questions. I hope everybody's doing well, staying safe. I wish everybody the best, and God bless.